Dana and I were expecting our third child, and we'd had a fairly normal pregnancy, I'd say. There were a couple of times when Dana noticed that that Ava at the time was not moving as much as the other kids.
Had amniocentesis, I had ultrasounds, all the regular testing, because I was over 35, and nothing showed up irregular or abnormal at all.
Getting you cleaned up, it's okay. When she was born, the alarms kind of went off as soon as she came out of the birth canal, that she looked flaccid. The term that they used in the hospital was, floppy baby.
Most babies you hold are very reflexive in their muscles. She just was like holding a bag of beans, a bag of rice, had no tone at all.
Have you seen breech babies, how they hold their legs?
No, I haven't.
They hold it all the way.
And then throughout the day, there was just more issues about her breathing. Every time I would nurse her, she would desat, basically she would stop breathing. Hi, girl. What you say, girl? What you say?
The challenges for a child with Nemaline myopathy are manifold, and they can start with very basic and very important functions of life, such as breathing and taking proper nutrition.
The lungs gradually start becoming collapsing, and eventually, if not managed the proper way, it may lead to respiratory failure.
Oh, you stepped right out of it!
It's an inherited condition, and the genetic defect that is inherited is how the muscle is put together.
Pick your head up, Kate.
So instead of each muscle cell being put together normally, there are accumulations of abnormal proteins within the muscle, and as a result the muscle doesn't contract strongly enough. The kids end up being weak. Some kids are unable to lift their arms and legs, others are unable to walk.
10% of the body is muscle, and if your muscles aren't functioning, you really can't function well in life, which is extremely draining on parents.
We had no idea what the actual cause was. And once you find the actual cause, you can start thinking about ways of treatment and so on. And you can also offer the families concerned genetic counseling and so on if they want it.
When I first heard that Nigel Lang had found the gene for Nemaline myopathy, it was interesting to me in two different ways. First of all, this disorder I had been interested in and had been studying, we finally had one genetic cause. There was likely to be many genetic causes.
Learning the exact cause of the problem is many times halfway on the road to success, because then you have something tangible to try to isolate and eventually solve.
I think there's two main approaches that we're currently taking, and the first is to target the genetic defect, to either repair that genetic defect or to upregulate an alternate gene that can do the same job.
So with all that coming together, us recognizing who the patients are, how to diagnose them, and on the other side, pharmaceutical companies really starting to home in on compounds that could do the job, will move us, I think, a good step closer to actually having meaningful clinical trials in these conditions, which is, I think, again, not too far off in the future.
We haven't solved any of the ideas yet, whether exercise would help or whether drug intervention would help. And so that was why we started a foundation, because we felt like we were drowning in the first year, and we wanted someone to throw us a preserver. And I think that's what we want it to be. We want it to be a resource. We wanted to let people know that you can still have a happy life, and you can still have a successful life, however you measure it, even with NM.
They are focusing attention on research on this disease, but also creating family interactions, making a website where families can inform each other about what has worked and bring the community together.
We feel connected as a resource, primarily in the research and treatment community. And I think our next step is to feel a little more connected to the NM families in that community.
I think one of the biggest things, what has contributed to the way I am today, is that my parents always treated me. I feel like they would have treated any other child that they had with a disability or not. I did basketball camp and cheerleading camp and art classes and acting camp. We always tried to find a way that I could do things instead of like limiting me, saying, oh no, I don't think you can do that because of your disability.
When I see someone at Stanford like Paula, and Paula is great. She's, you know, so secure and in her own way, and she's happy, and she's excited to be a part of the Stanford community, and she's connected to us, and we feel like we're, hopefully she feels this way too, her home away from home. Today, Ava's 4.5 years old, and I'd say she probably behaves like a 2-year-old physically, but she's getting more and more mobile. And that's not necessarily 100% typical for kids with NM.
It's scary to have the unknown, and still today there's not much more research than there was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. It's moved slowly, but at least forward.
We've seen progress in the research that we've already funded. We feel like in the next 10 years, we'll have true answers that we can actually write up and send to everyone.
Creating this community, both online and in meetings, I think is a huge tribute to Mark and will benefit all families who have this disease.